is a little bit of a departure from my regular free motion quilting tutorials. This is going to be a little bit of ruler work to make a little mandala. I love doing these mandalas, and I like doing them on fancy fabric here. Excuse me while I find my foot pedal here. There we go. So I'm using a little ruler, a little shaped ruler here, and you've got to have stuff on the back so you can see I've got these little dot thingies on the back when you're doing ruler work with a sit down, because you're moving the fabric and the ruler at the same time. So I am going to put that ruler on, and I'm actually going to slow my speed down because it works better if you go slowly with the ruler work so that you don't lose your... And I'm just going to go across till I hit my line here. And what I've done is I've marked 8 sections, north, south, east, and west, and then the quarter sections there. And now we're just going to put this back here. And you notice that if you look at the mark, there's a little black mark that I drew on there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there is a little mark there. And there you can see it. And I'm placing that about 1/4 of an inch from where I want to end up, because, although it's on the line, because my needle is about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the foot. And I am using the higher foot that's available for the Sweet 16. It's a little easier to use when you're using a ruler. Little harder to see where your needle is, but it's a little better for running along the edge of the ruler. So I'm stopping at the line there, and then I'm going to come back and do... So I'm going to do north, south, east, and west. And then I'm going to do the diagonals, but I'm not going to come all the way into the middle. I'm only going to come to where these things are. So, and it does take a little practice using the ruler on a sit-down machine. It's not, especially a curved ruler. A straight ruler is a little easier, but a curved ruler on a sit-down machine, it's... All right, I had broken my bobbin thread. So pick that back up again. Now, if I were doing this because I wanted something really good out of it, I probably would have picked the stitches up back at least to the point of that pedal. But since this is mostly just a demo and fun for me, I'm not going to bother. It's not that odd. And I am just going to follow that down, and something does not sound good in the bobbin, so I'm going to check that. All right, you should always listen to the sound of your machine, and if something sounds off, chances are it is off. So good idea if it sounds off to double check. That sounds better. You get to know the way your machine normally sounds, and make sure it continues to sound that way. And if it doesn't, check things. if it sounds off, it is off somehow. All right, so I've got the 8 petals done. And now I'm going to put aside the ruler for a minute. Now, if I were making a bigger one, I would probably do 1/4 of an inch outside each of these petals to make a little flat spot. But I'm not going to do that right now because this is just a tiny one. What I am going to do is put a little feather down each of these full petals where we've got the full petal. So I'm going to do a little bounce back feather. And when I do these at the top, I usually put a little kind of diamond shaped thing at the top. Oops, that's sounding lousy again. All right, you can see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to check on the sound of the machine, and then I am going to do the rest of these petals off camera. So I have finished the feathers in the 4 main petals, and now I'm going to do wishbones in the other petals. And the wishbones contrast with the feathers because the feathers kind of go top to bottom and the wishbones go side to side. So I kind of drew this out ahead of time. I tend to do that. And I'm going to break thread here since it's only going to be a small thing to do. Break thread, and this time I'm going to start at the top so that when I get to the middle, I won't have to break thread. And I'll get 2 of these petals done before I have to break thread again. Usually when I do my mandalas, I kind of draw it out. I don't draw it out in the full size. So see, now I don't have to break thread. I can just come through the middle here and work up to do some more ruler work. So what I'm going to do is fit this here. And you'll notice that I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch here because I want, again, the needle. And I can adjust that as I get close. I can adjust that to make sure that it goes where it's supposed to go. So I'm just going to make a loop around the outside for each of these. And as you get experience with this, you'll know where to put your ruler so that you get that you come up to where you want to come up to at the end of your nice. It does take a little bit of experience. I'm not the world's best on it, but I've done enough now with the rulers that I'm pretty good at judging that 1/4 inch distance. So now what I'm going to do is do the same thing but to the outside. And you can see here that these were not all the same size, but again, if I were doing this to be something, you know, special and trying to be, I would probably have marked a circle around so that I knew exactly where I was going to come to, and I wouldn't have this one long paddle here. If you're wondering about the markings on here, I've marked this with Crayola Ultra Clean washable markers. And this was actually pink that I used here to make the marks. There is a blue water-soluble marker that you can buy for quilting that works well. I have found that these wash out for me. I've used them on this sort of fabric before and not had a problem with them. So, but you certainly could use any other marking method that works for you. Please make sure if you use something that you test it first if you're going to do markings. And now I'm going to do, I don't know. I think I'm going to do wishbones again in these. Wishbones are very adaptable. Really adaptable kind of. So here is the finished medallion. And as I said, normally if I were making this bigger, I would have put a unquilted portion. So I would have come out 1/4 inch from the sides of these paddles and echoed the paddles, and then I probably would have done the same here and the same outside. But because I just wanted to do a little one and I didn't want to take up too much time on a video, I didn't do that. Now obviously if this were in matching thread it would look a little bit better because you wouldn't see some of the baubles. You'd just see the texture. However, this is pretty too. And this material is, you know, polyester or whatever it is, rayon, whatever. I don't know what, I don't remember what the actual makeup of the fabric is, but it's the special occasions fabrics that you get at, you know, any of the big fabric stores, or lining material. And it's just fun because they're pretty. They're not probably something that I would quilt with unless I were using them in a crazy quilt. Anyway, there's a little mandala, little something different today.